Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, my friends. Let's have some fun breaking it down. It's funny, more people watched my second video than the actual video, and it's my job to bring it to you. So I'm going to bring it to you right here. Let's go over how most people won't be able to make it through this video and how you will mistake the actual revelation of this video. Your ego will not allow you to see it. You will read the script. You will think you know what I'm talking about and then miss what's right in front of your face. And when you see it, you're going to say, that's impossible to miss because it's part of the story. It's right in my face. But watch how the ego takes what it thinks it knows so that it can read a script about it rather than know what it is. So let's do it.
For as long as we've been alive, we've seen the image of a mother holding her child. In churches, in paintings, in sculptures, in stained glass windows, the picture repeats itself. Mary and Jesus, the sorrowful mother and the sacred son.
And as a pattern recognizer, somebody that doesn't lie to yourself, hide it anymore, you ask honest questions like a child. So you know what the questions are to ask about this artwork? The questions is why is it a theme that what is supposed to be baby Jesus? That's the tip off too. You know how that's the comedy of our reality? We had it in movies. Will Ferrell loves the baby Jesus joke. It should be, that's how things tell me things in reality. I see that and I go, what an anomaly. Baby Jesus, there's a disconnect here. Is that not baby Jesus? Because it's not. But it's always drawn like a man, like an adult. That should be a tip-off. I mean, just me saying that should change the way that you see it, should change the way that your eyes are functioning to see that why is that a theme? There's a reason why it's done. People have copied it and copied it and copied it, culture after culture after culture. Why is the baby drawn like an adult? Makes it look real weird here.
But what if this image is not the beginning of the story? What if it is the latest costume of a pattern thousands of years older than Christianity itself? Because
that's where you and I, we've looked at the world's oldest artifacts and they come down to a mother figure, the oldest ones that there ever were. So since you and I have seen those artifacts multiple times, isn't it more or less the baby Jesus thing becomes more comical and more comical as this woman sitting on the throne most of the time with a crown on? In an image like this, it's more or less representing mother and child. Then the giveaway is the halo around the head that tells you, wait a minute, this isn't Mary. This isn't Mary here. So,
what if it is the latest costume of a pattern that...
But we're still not in to the even weird stuff yet. We're not even into where your ego's going to think that it caught the villain and you missed the plot.
Thousands of years older than Christianity itself. Because long before Mary and Jesus, the world was already telling the story of a divine mother and her child.
See, this is information that you've heard before. This is information that you've run across. You have now reached the barrier of your country right here. If your country is like a Christian country, whatever it is, you have reached the edge of, I'm United States, so that means I'm a Christian. You know, not knowing what a Christian is or anything like that, just going, I'm from the United States and my family is a Christian, so that means I'm a Christian. We've reached the edge of that because your ego's going to start going, but it's my land and it's what I've been taught in my land, and you're showing the same thing in different lands. Is the ego's going to kind of spiral right here, and the ego's going to feel like it needs to lie to itself, hide it from itself.
For Mary and Jesus, the world was already telling the story.
But see, the thing is this isn't cracking the case, guys. The ego thinks that we caught the culprit right here, while the ego is terrified. This is where the ego feels that there might be ego destruction. So the ego's feeling like, ooh, lie to myself, hide it from myself, don't let me see that I did that, Chris Angel that shit, and go into slander, blackmail, extortion, humiliation mode. And there's no reason for that. There's nothing that's odd here. It is odd, but there's nothing cracking the case.
Itself. Because long before Mary and Jesus, the world was already telling the story of a divine mother and her child, Isis and Horus in Egypt.
See, this is where most people will watch my video and assume that I've seen this before. People will think 100%. They have no other way to think about this. They'll think that I'm an atheist debunking Christianity into postmodernism. That's probably what you, if you didn't make it through this video, that's what your ego was triggered into, that I'm debunking everything and I'm replacing it with nothing. And we're left, and isn't that great that I debunked everything, guys, and I destroyed everything? No, we get to the truth with this. That's not how the destruction, the ego destruction, doesn't work like how the ego thinks. The ego thinks that you just destroy everything and leave everything in a condition of postmodernism, saying, nobody could know anything and nothing ever existed and everything's fake. And look how I proved everything's fake. That's not the plot. That's not even uncovering anything. The ego has no idea what cracking the case is. No idea what figuring it out actually is.
Inanna and Dumusid in Sumer, Cybele and Attis in Phrygia, Devki and Krishna in India. Culture after culture, century after century, the same image appears. A mother, a child, and a missing father. A creation born.
That's the part nobody notices. When you see it, you can't unsee it. Isn't it obvious? Isn't it obvious that it's the story of a single mother? Isn't that the thing that everyone should notice? Where's the father? The whole story we've been told kind of breaks down. The story of Mary and Jesus kind of breaks down. Where's Jesus? Well, he's the baby, then who's the father? Where's the father? This is a story of a single mother without, because that's what it is, guys. That's what Jesus brings. God. All of it makes sense.
The mother alone. A world shaped by that absence.
Look, guys. The world is shaped by the absence of the masculine. And Jesus Christ is that masculine. Nobody knows God. They know a scripted version of their own narcissism. That's the God of the Old Testament. They've turned their own narcissism into God, and Jesus Christ brings the real, unknowable God. But do you understand why the world doesn't know God? That should be the oddity, that the world has a fake version of God that is actually their own narcissism.
Century, the same image.
There's a cause and effect, a reason why it's so blind that the ignorance is in maximum in this area.
In India, culture after culture, century after century, the same image appears. A mother, a child, and a missing father. A creation born from the mother alone. A world shaped by that absence. And this is where the Gnostic story enters, not as religion, but as psychology wearing mythic clothing. In the Gnostic telling, Sophia, wisdom itself, acts alone. She creates without her counterpart.
I really wish more of you watched this video. It's kind of sad. This video got 50 views, and then the one I made after it explaining it got like a lot more, and likes. This video has 9 likes on it. Like, really, guys? But like, part of it, guys, it took me, do you think that AI just spit out these images by itself? It took me a long time to make these fucking badass fucking images right here. It took like, if I was sitting there trying to direct an artist to make this, it wouldn't even have come out like this. I mean, fuck. This shit is fucking cool as fuck, these images in this video.
And this is where the Gnostic story enters, not as religion, but as psychology wearing mythic clothing. In the Gnostic telling, Sophia, wisdom itself, acts alone. She creates without her counterpart, without the father, without the balancing principle.
Now, see, this is the part where it would be confusing for everyone. People think everything is an opinion. Everything is a myth. And I'm going to show you. I'm going to give you an example of that right now. What I want you to do is, you're going to find out right now if this is the truth or not. Not opinion, not an idea, not a concept, the real McCoy. So when this is said in the video right here.
Gnostic telling, Sophia, wisdom itself, acts alone. She creates without her counterpart, without the father, without the balancing principle. And from this solitary act
this world was created without the masculine, without the male counterpart. Okay, now I want you to look at the world. Now I want you to look, is all of life really the fractured feminine? I want you to look at those mentally ill lefties. Is everything that they're doing the female aspect of it? Of course you would say yes. That one's easy. Of course the blue side is the hardcore feminine. And the red side is supposed to be the masculine. Let's go look at all the people that claim to be red pill people. Those are the people that are not looking for the Epstein files. They're on a witch hunt for it. They never look for anything. And they, you know the tip-off to the red pillar is really feminine, is the fractured feminine, the other side of feminine, the way that they always want to be right. You know how easy it is to outsmart a red pill person, a red pillar person, a MAGA. I hate to say it like that because, you know, I love my Trump. You know how easy it is to outsmart a MAGA fucking idiot? They just sit there going, I'm right. A MAGA supporter never cared for the truth of anything. They cared to be right. They want to point fingers. They want to be congratulated. They don't want to fix the problem. They don't want to move forward. They want to point a finger and be told that you were right. We should all listen to you. That's the other side of feminine, guys. All you have to do is look around. Is the world created without its male counterpart? Well, if the world knew its male counterpart, There would be no purpose for Jesus Christ because the world would be complete knowing the male. The purpose of Jesus Christ is to bring the male, to show you what male is.
Wisdom itself acts alone. She creates without her counterpart, without the father, without the balancing principle. And from this solitary act comes a child born blind, a child who does not know what.
Now, this, you would hear all of this as like mythology. You would do something with it. You would call it a metaphor. These are metaphors that are explaining the human condition. Like, let's go over here. Maybe it'll help us out. Look at how Morg doesn't understand how all of these things translate into reality. It's not a metaphor when it's explaining your psyche. It's not a fairy tale when it's really the explanation. But Morg still hasn't made it past this. Morg thinks it's all a performance. Morg doesn't know how it translates into actual life.
The first thought of that mind. Barbelo is literally called first thought in another Gnostic text called Three Forms of First Thought. By the way, that's why she has three. There's a book called Three Forms of First Thought.
Look, Morg's just giving the names and definitions of things, and his audience is just sitting there memorizing them. None of them know how to learn. That's the female, guys. The performance of the ego is the female. The problem is the performance and not knowing what the thing is.
Because the first thought is Barbelo, and she has three forms: Father, the Mother, and the Son. And so Jesus is Barbelo. Barbelo is Jesus, or Christ, rather, not like Jesus, the human being, but the Christ principle. That's what's important to understand.
Look at Morg. Did you hear that? The Christ principle. It's not a principle when it actually shows you your psyche. When it shows you how everything functions, how everyone thinks, it's not a principle, Morg. You don't know how these things actually translate into reality.
The Mother and the Son. And so Jesus is Barbelo. Barbelo is Jesus, or Christ, rather, not like Jesus, the human being, but the Christ principle. That's what's important to understand. So this autogenes Christ, this Christ principle, what's it represent? It represents awareness, because the mind, when it says the Father looked into Barbelo...
You know what we're looking for from Morg, and I, of course, should have put the video right on it, is Morg is going to do his standard trick just because he hasn't figured it out yet. He thinks that a human being can become the Christ. Human beings are default hypocrite. Even when you are under the law of God, you're Paul who says, whoa, this is odd. Wait a minute. I thought when I actually became under the law of God and I didn't even know how to do that, I didn't know what it was. It was a road to Damascus. It happened like a thief in the night. I didn't even see it coming. I fell off my horsey. I saw the mirror. And then I became under the law of God. I became aware. Boy, my ego thought I would be a perfect person that lives in a perfect world, just like how everyone's always done. Then I figured out, wait a minute, I still do what I don't want to do, because to be a human being is to be a default hypocrite, even when you're under the law, because you're not the all-seeing eye that can see everything from every angle possible. So the Christ is perfection, and a human being, it's impossible to reach that, because the whole thing of just having the human being experience is to experience the sweet and sour of duality, which will make you part of that duality, as your mind doesn't operate in that duality.
She conceived and bore a child? This is, mythical speak for...
See, look at Morg. Mythical speak. Guys, you have to realize that this shit is true. You have to bridge this gap of it's being told through metaphor, but it translates into how life is operating. So it's not a fantasy. It's not a fucking fairy tale. Look how life is divided for Morg. Like there's some two separate things when it's all the same. When it's all...
Bore a child? This is, mythical speak for the mind recognized itself and became self-aware. So Christ is the principle of awareness. That's what Christ is. It's not some guy
It's not a principle, Morg.
Sandals floating around like Chris Angel and multiplying fish and loaves. That's not Christ. That's Jesus. I don't believe Jesus did those miracles.
And see, here's where Morg would be missing it. This has taken me my whole life to come to this place here, where I realize
that's not Christ. That's Jesus.
Everything is true in a way where we don't understand it. Just like everything works in a way of like how everyone thought that the road to Damascus, Paul, Sal becoming Paul, everyone thinks that that's a supernatural event that no one could ever know what it is. And we figured out it was a man that saw the mirror. The same way Peter saw the mirror and fell to his knees and said, "I'm a stupid man." These things that sound like these miracles that could never happen actually happened. It's the same thing. The ego has gotten a hold of these things and turned them into these this thing of where Paul didn't see the mirror. He had a supernatural event that no one could ever know what it is, and no one else ever goes through that, and it was something that everyone is supposed to go through. Everyone is supposed to be Sal that becomes Paul. You know how you sabotage that? You know how you ruin all of that? Turn it into a mythological experience that's a supernatural thing that no one ever experienced but Sal. And when it's an experience that everyone's supposed to have, it's a story of everyone. So if you asked me, I don't know, 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, if you asked me if the miracles that Jesus Christ did were real, I would say exactly the same thing Morg's saying. I've come to realize in every single circumstance when I'm trying to divide things, when I'm trying to go, oh, this is fake, this is fantasy right here, discard it. Every single time, I found out I'm wrong. I found out that, wait a minute, everything was real. Everything was right. It's my lack of perception. It's my lack of understanding.
I don't believe Jesus did those miracles.
So if you asked me 5 years ago, I would be confused like Morg and go, no, I don't think that Jesus did those miracles. Like, let's confuse it with mythological and then this and that. And no, all of it fucking happened. We just don't understand how. We don't understand what's really being talked about. And it will turn out the same thing as Sal becoming Paul. The big story really came down to a man that saw the fucking mirror and realized he's the opposite of himself. What a devastation.
That's not Christ. That's Jesus. I don't believe Jesus did those miracles. I believe Jesus was a historical figure, but didn't do those miracles.
I believe Jesus was a historical figure. Yeah, I know, Morg, your ego needs to downplay it. Your ego needs to degrade the Christ and bring him down to your level so that we can pretend the Christ is a man and we can just decide to become him. See, there's a problem with that, Morg, because the Christ is perfection. The Christ has no flaw. You can't And no one through all of history, this is just a real thing in the world. Through all of history worldwide, as long as life has been, no one's ever been able to call the Christ a hypocrite. That's like real right now. Like the Christ, the Bible, the New Testament. No one has ever been able to call Christ. We can all find out how we are hypocrites. We can all find out how all of us have a blind spot in something, and it just default makes us a hypocrite because we're not the all-seeing eye that can see everything from every angle.
That was a wild embellishment and allegorical.
See, that's what I would have said. Ed, that's a wild embellishment, allegorical. Yeah, that's what the story of Sal becoming Paul was, until we figured out what it really is, and then it made sense.
That's Jesus. I don't believe Jesus did those miracles. I believe Jesus was a historical figure, but didn't do those miracles. That was a wild embellishment and allegorical. But anyway, Jesus became the Christ.
See, look at where Morg has to diminish the Christ right here.
Anyway, Jesus became the Christ when Jesus looked within and realized he was the Christ. When he's aware.
No, Morg. It's actually real that there really is the 8-pointed star in the sky. There really is. I'm trying to think of the name of it. The Bethlehem star. There really was the wise men. There really was a planetary alignment. There really was God born on earth. There really was the unknowable God that Jesus Christ brings manifest on earth. You know how you know that this is real? Because no one's ever been able to beat his teachings. No one has ever been able to call. That's his qualifications. You get to, how about this, Morg? You get to say that the Christ is a man, and you just get to decide to become him. If you can prove he's a hypocrite. You know why, Morg? If you can prove that the Christ is a hypocrite, then he's just like you. He's just like everyone else. Then he is a man. His qualifications are no one's ever been able to find any fault in his teachings. So, yeah.
Christ is awareness. So you become, the principle of Christ is the awareness principle. And so when you look with...
Awareness principle. Christ wakes you up to the Christ within you. But you become like Christ, but you do not become Christ. The Christ is beyond the human condition. Christ is within everyone. Christ awakes in the tabernacle of the body, your true self, to the most core of your being is the Christ. The golden child in the Golden Child movie with Eddie Murphy, and Eddie Murphy plays the ego, the bodyguard, and the golden child is the Christ.
It's the Christ. When he's aware, Christ is awareness. So you become, the principle of Christ is the awareness principle. And so when you look within...
Okay. Oh, I got that harsh-ass cigar. Oh, it was so smooth until that part right there.
And become aware of yourself.
Look how it's a performance for Morg. Because to do the real thing, we would say, okay, Morg, be perfect now. Be flawless. Show us how we're all a hypocrite. But you're not, because you decided it's a real thing, Morg. It's not a performance. So if you were going to perform the true thing, show us how you've defeated being a human being, which is a default. You just decided that all human beings can become Christ. Okay, well, beyond the performance, where the rubber meets the road, show us how you now are the all-seeing eye. How that you've defeated being a human being, and now you can see all of reality from every single angle possible. You're not restricted to two sides of the story anymore. Now you see every side of every story in a perfect world.
So you become, the principle of Christ is the awareness principle. And so when you look within and become aware of yourself or know thyself, you become Christ.
No, you don't.
And this is all over Gnostic texts. In the Gospel of...
No, in the Gnostic text, it says what you look at is what you become. And this is talked about in the mind, as in what you focus on is what you become. But we're restricted to the human condition. We're restricted to the meat suits that we're wearing, planet Earth and its atmosphere, where our meat suits were born, where it comes from, planet Earth.
Philip, it says, you have seen the Christ and you have become the Christ. You have seen the Father and you will become Father.
And that's exactly what Morg went on to. Exactly that part in the Nag Hammadi scripture where it says what you look at is what you become. There's a part, Morg, where the rubber meets the road and the performance ends, and you actually got to perform rather than do a performance. You actually have to, all these things that you're saying, show me how it's real. Perform it. Show me how you're the one that defeated being a human being, and now you're the all-seeing eye that sees everything from every angle. Show me, then.
It says when you understand the secret knowledge that this person is no longer a Christian, but a Christ. In another Gnostic text, Jesus says, be better than I. In the Gospel of Thomas, he says, when you drink from my mouth, understand my words, you will become me and I will become you, and nothing.
Oh my God, it's so harsh. Yeah, Morg. And then Paul said, I've achieved all these things. I've done all these things. The weird thing is that I thought I would be a perfect person that lives in a perfect world. Now I realize that was idiotic. I'm a human being. It means by default, I'm not a perfect person that lives in a perfect world, because planet Earth is defective in the sweet and sour duality. And
all things hidden will be revealed to you. In other words, you become Christ by activating the principle.
And then Paul said, I've done all these things, but I still do what I do not want to do, because I'm a human being that only sees two sides of the story.
Awareness within you. So that's what all this is. Like, this is not history. People are like, oh, well, how can you? Some people are like, well, why do you think that the Gnostic?
See, this is the funny thing. This is the kind of stuff we're making the video for. This gap. There's a gap of how they don't know how things are real. They have this gap where they think this is a mythological thing, so that means it's like fantasy fairy tale. It's so beyond all of that. It's beyond it. The people's minds do not work this way. They should.
This is not history. People are like, oh, well, how can you? Some people are like,
see,
well,
that's
why do
the
you
thing,
think?
guys? It is history. This is where people get lost in the metaphor. They're thinking that it's a metaphor. They're thinking that it's a performance. They're not realizing that the metaphor is showing you reality, is showing you the human condition. They're literally manifest in the world. It's showing you how people think, how people operate, how the world works, how all of everything. It's not some arbitrary opinion. It's not some mythological thing just floating out there. It actually has cause and effect and explains things.
You become Christ by activating the principle of awareness within you. So that's what all this is. Like, this is not history. People are like, oh, well, how can you? Some people are like, well,
it is history. When people say the Bible is not history, they're not understanding how it actually is history.
why do you think that the Gnostic texts are true? I don't believe that they're literally true.
Look, guys, I don't believe that they're literally true. There's a metaphor, and then, no, it's actually showing life. It's not a metaphor. It's like a wiring diagram that's explaining electricity. Instead of explaining electricity, it's explaining the human condition, the cause and effect, why human beings act like they do, is what it's doing. So would it be weird if somebody had a weird disconnect? Let's literally pretend we're electricians and we're holding a wiring diagram, and then the electrician says, man, this wiring we have to fix the electricity. It's right in front of us, the light switch that we have to hook up. It's right in front of us, and we have the wiring diagram to hook it up. Man, too bad this wiring diagram's a mythological thing that has no explanation of how we're supposed to hook up the electricity, when literally it's a wiring diagram that's showing you how to hook up the electricity. How odd would it be if you were working with somebody, you're supposed to be looking at the diagram and then hooking up the wires the way that the wiring diagram tells you to? And then the other guy you're working with goes, man, I wish somebody would show us how to hook up these wires, because, man, this wiring diagram's a mythological concept. It's a mythological opinion concept that's showing us exactly how to hook up the wires. Man, I wish there was something that showed us how to hook up the wires. Well, maybe when you learn that the wiring diagram you're calling metaphor is metaphor, but it's there to show you how to hook up the fucking wires.
Some people are like, well, why do you think that the Gnostic texts are true?
Well, why do you think it's as stupid as saying, why do you think a wiring diagram is true? I didn't need to think a wiring diagram is true. I just take the wiring diagram and I follow it to hook up the wires. You know what would be the weirdest? The most arbitrary weirdest. I mean, so weird it would be like, how did you even come up with that to say that? How did you, in the world of electricians, who the fuck would ever say, why would you think a wiring diagram's true? I didn't know that you were supposed to think. I thought we just followed the wiring diagram to hook up the wires. And then we do that every day as electricians. The weirdest thing anybody would ever fucking say is, what makes you think that that wiring diagram is the truth? Well, because we followed it and then we hooked up the electricity and it just did what it was supposed to. I didn't need to believe in the wiring diagram. I didn't need to have faith in it. I didn't think that it was mythological because there would be no reason for me to. It's just there to show me how to hook up the fucking electricity. I don't need to believe in it. I just go to work and I be an electrician, and then I follow the blueprints and I follow the plans. And I think I would get fired if I went around holding the blueprints going, man, these things are this mythological opinion concept of something. I wish there was a wiring diagram that showed me how to hook all this up. Then everybody would point to the piece of paper in my hand going, well, the wiring diagram's right in your hand right there. And then I go, you mean this thing, a concept, an opinion, a mythological metaphor that's just arbitrary? And then everybody goes, no, it's a wiring diagram. You follow it to hook up the electricity. You know the thing that you're asking for? It's in your hand.
People are like, oh, well, how can you? Some people are like, well, why do you think that the Gnostic texts are true?
Why do you think that the Gnostic texts are true? Why would you think a wiring diagram is true? You see how stupid this shit ends up being?
It's not history. People are like, oh, well, how can you? Some people are like, well, why do you think that the Gnostic texts are true? I don't believe that they're literally true. I don't believe they're historical documents.
But they're true. But all of it's true. And all of it is historical documents. The entire Bible, true. It's history. It's historical documents.
Stories. The Bible is...
You don't understand how the metaphor stories are showing you a wiring diagram and a template of how things actually function and work.
How can you, some people are like, well, why do you think that the Gnostic texts are true? I don't believe that they're literally true. I don't believe they're historical documents. They're stories.
I don't know. When we look around, is the blue pillar made of the feminine and the red pillar made of the other extreme feminine, while no one knows what the true masculine actually is? Yeah, it's all real, Morg. It's explaining the world that you live in. It's explaining all the human beings, explaining what they do, how they think, why they think that way, why their ego reacts like it does, Morg. It was all true. It is all history.
The Bible isn't true. The Bible are stories.
Morg. It's all true. It's all explaining the human beings and the life you're living and everyone else's life, Morg. It's more true than anything else, than anything could be, Morg.
The Gnostic texts are true. I don't believe that they're literally true. I don't believe they're historical documents. They're stories. The Bible isn't true. The Bible are stories. The Gospels were anonymous. They weren't written by Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John. And
Morg, we can put those Gospels all to the test. Not like we're testing God. All we have to do is look at the Gospel. Then look at the world around us. Is it explaining the world around us? Yes. Is it doing it hitting a bullseye every time? Is it doing it with laser-like precision, wisdom that is just mind-blowing, jaw-dropping? Is it giving it to you, Morg? Is it giving it to you in the highest wisdom possible? Yes. How do we know if it's right or wrong? Is reality reflecting it? Yes. That makes it right, Morg. If it's documenting how people act, how people think, why people do what they do. Is it doing that with laser-like precision? Yes. Is that how you know that it's real? Of course. Of course.
And they're stories. But that doesn't mean that they're not powerful. I just don't look at them as history, because they're not history.
Why do you have this disconnect, Morg?
These things are powerful symbolism that allows us to connect to
Now understand, all these things that I'm saying, don't think I'm saying that Morg is dumb. I'm just saying I'm really fucking advanced. I don't know how else to say it, guys, because this is a real journey. I used to think exactly like Morg. You think exactly like Morg. The thing Morg is doing is default. Every single human being will be confused. I was confused like Morg not too long ago. This was a huge revelation. You know what happened? You know what propelled me forward in this? It's exactly like I told you. I was doing what Morg was doing, thinking that, oh, this is like a mythological metaphor. I kept being wrong. Every single time I tried to divide it up like this, thinking that I'm keeping the good and discarding the things that don't make sense, discarding this, I was wrong. To find out, all of it was true. It's a lack of understanding on our part. All of it was true. Everything, every single time you try to separate something and then discard it, you will be wrong, because all of it was true.
Our unconscious mind. Because we can talk about, sinusoidal waveforms and the source and mathematical equations and psychological principles, such as developing the analog I and the analog all. That's great. But that is all left brain thinking, which is good. We want that. But we also want to connect to right brain thinking, which thinks in terms of meaning, stories, symbolism. So your unconscious isn't going to understand a mathematical equation, but it will resonate with the symbol of, let's say, the father and the mother bearing the son or the child. And so when you start to understand these stories in symbolic form, You are engaging with the part of you that communicates symbolically, which is a
No, that's me, Morg. I had to pee, guys. I just went and peed real quick and blew my nose. And I was hearing Morg back there going left brain thinking and right brain thinking. And you know that that's the fractured feminine. You know that the red pill is the MAGA dudes that want to be right about everything. They don't care about anything. They wouldn't know how to solve a problem. They wouldn't know how to. They just want everybody to know that they're right about something and praise them. And they're the greatest. And then we know that the left brain shit is liberals.
with the part of you that communicates symbolically, which is a
No, that's me, a neurodivergent person that can communicate symbolically, and it's done from the third eye. It's done from the middle door. It's done from the Willy Wonka purple seed man getting his Jimi Hendrix shit on, burning up his fucking guitar, symbolizing burning up all of our egos in the dark night of the soul. So let's go back to this video.
The act comes a child born blind, a child who does not know where he
Now,
came
this is where it all changes. This is where it's going to start getting profound, because your entire life, everyone's entire life, you have been conditioned to point a finger. Everyone in the end is pointing a finger at the devil. It doesn't matter if you're an atheist. It doesn't matter anything at all. This is where it changes. This is where your whole life changes. You can't unsee what I'm about to show you. And what I'm about to show you is so obvious, so common sense. It's buried under layers and layers of what I would call mind control, conditioning of your mind to be ignorant. You've been conditioned to not ask simple questions. And this is obvious. This is common sense when it comes down to it.
without the Father, without the balancing principle. And from this solitary act comes a child born blind.
Now,
a child who
Now, if I wasn't showing you this, you would be pointing a finger, because we're looking at Satan right here. And you've been conditioned to point a finger at Satan, going, I'm the good guy and there's the bad guy. We got the bad guy. Guys, this is a story of you. So is this not fitting? Are you not Yaltabaoth? It's everyone, guys. Like, that's the truth. So is this not you, when you were born? You were born into a world where no one has ever shown you what God is. They've given you a performance. They've given you good and evil. When you were born here on planet Earth, you were told the one rule we have is you're not allowed to know yourself, and you're not allowed to ask questions, because it'll interrupt everyone else's ego. So do you know the only conclusion that you can come to? I'm God, and there is no other before me. We're born into ignorance. We're born into blindness. By default, the way that the world works, the way that it all conditions children to not ask questions and go along with the narrative, isn't this the explanation of you being born right here?
This solitary act comes a child born blind, a child who does not know where he came from, a child who
Isn't that you? Isn't that me? You were born as a child that didn't know where you came from, and there was no one to ever show you, so you developed the ego mask. The world conditioned you to not know yourself. The world conditioned you to not ask questions. Oh man, this cigar's so harsh. And instead, develop an ego mask and follow the narrative. Don't ask questions, follow the narrative. instead. Didn't that create you as Yaltabaoth? Didn't that create me as Yaltabaoth? Didn't that create everyone you have ever known, making the entire world Yaltabaoth and all the people of it? This is the God of the world. Literally you. Literally everyone. The ego of everyone. They don't know where they came from. They don't know the unknowable God that Jesus Christ brings. So your ego, since you have no information and no one will show you and no one will help you, you develop the ego mask, you use duality, you create a shadow closet where you lie to yourself and hide it from yourself because of all of this trauma. You did it because you were born blind. No one would show you. No one would help you. It reinforced building the ego mask more because the ego mask is your armor. All of this being born, being told you're not allowed to know yourself, you're not allowed to ask questions, and no one's gonna fucking help you. And if you ask questions, people are gonna slander, blackmail, and extort you. Boy, that would sure turn a child into an egomaniac, the formula of everyone, while all of it comes from trauma.
He is alone in the universe.
Is this not the explanation of the day you were born? Right here?
And from this solitary act comes a child born blind, a child who does not know where he came from, a child who believes he is alone in the universe. And because he does not know the Father, he declares, I am God and there is no other before me.
That's the only conclusion that you can come to when an atheist says, I'm an atheist because no one will prove all this shit to me. I don't know how it's real, so I'm just going with atheist. You're doing this. Like everyone is this. Because no one ever told you what anything it was when you were born. It was, you were convinced to build the ego mask as armor. Instead of wearing the armor of God, we are taught to use the ego as armor. As we're blind to the source. We're blind to the unknowable God that Jesus Christ brings. And we look around and we say, where's God? Where's God to control everything? Well, I can't see outside myself. I don't see how any of this fits. I don't see. So the only conclusion that you can come to is, I guess I'm God because there is no other before me. I can't see beyond my own ego. So the logical conclusion to come to is the one everyone does. Where's God? I can't see God. I don't know what it is. So there must be no God. Look at Stephen Hawking's. Look at fucking Stephen Hawking's. How dumb Stephen Hawking's is with his whole atheist thing, his whole life doing this. He's the blind God. He's the one that says, I am God, there is no other before me, as he's the lion-headed snake, blind God.
Know where he came from. A child who believes he is alone in the universe. And because he does not know the Father, he declares, I am God and there is no other before me. Not out of arrogance, but out of ignorance.
Listen, not out of arrogance, out of trauma, out of ignorance. No one would tell him. No one would show him. He didn't know that what he's missing is the male counterpart, and he doesn't realize everything he's doing is feminine, and he's in search for his father that he doesn't know.
God and there is no other before me. Not out of arrogance, but out of ignorance. Not out of malice, but out of fear. He builds a world from the only perspective he has. A world of hierarchy, control, identity, and fear. A world where questioning authority feels dangerous. A world where obedience feels like safety. A world where the ego becomes the operating system of human consciousness. And when you look again at the artwork of Mary and Jesus, something ancient reveals itself. Mary becomes Sophia, the mother who created without the father. Jesus becomes the child born into a world shaped by that absence.
Now, we're still into the information that people should know. But I'm about to show you something that you've never heard before. In a nothing new under the sun, where you think you've heard every script, you know how to repeat every script, I'm going to show you a story you have never heard, ever. You know why? No one would ever tell the true story, because then you don't have a finger to point anymore. Oh, and is this artwork not fucking badass? I love making this shit with AI, guys, because like I have cause and effect. Like there's a reason for me to be using AI. Yeah, like how could I have an artist draw this up? There would be no point of having an artist draw all this up. It's about the message. It's not about the art. Did AI make that or the... No, it's about how I'm showing you all this shit. Doesn't matter if AI made it or not. There's a cause and effect. There's a reason for things.
The missing father becomes the Christ consciousness outside the ecosystem, the part of reality the child never knew. The artwork is not wrong. It is remembering something older than its...
Isn't that... Look, it's just all you. It's all me. It's all everyone. You were born. You weren't allowed to ask questions. Then you came to the mystery school and you started learning the true masculine. You started learning the true Christ. It's outside of our consciousness because we don't know the masculine. We're learning the masculine. It's why it can take 30 years to learn any of the teachings of Jesus Christ. It's the masculine that we don't know. It's baffling. It's a mystery. It's a riddle that our brains can't penetrate because we don't know the masculine. It's so far outside of our comprehension.
The missing father becomes the Christ consciousness outside the ecosystem, the part of reality the child never knew. The artwork is not wrong. It is remembering something older than itself. It is echoing a story humanity has been telling since the beginning.
So, are you putting this together truly? Truly? Have you figured out, without lying to yourself, without trying to change it, you are Yaltabaoth. I am Yaltabaoth. It's a tragic story of a traumatized boy left alone and created the whole system of the ego that you now live in, as you are that frightened, traumatized boy. Doesn't matter if you're a girl or a boy, you're that traumatized boy that needs a father. And the whole world points at you, calling you the devil.
The story...
Yeah, because you are. Because you are the devil. But how is the devil manifest? What's the origins of the devil's a frightened little boy that the only conclusion you could come out with is being Yaltabaoth?
A mother, a child, and a missing source. This is why the world feels the way it does. It feels like a single parent creation.
Isn't this funny? Of course I do all this shit on purpose. Look how funny it is that I think I'm funny, guys. No one tells me I'm funny, so I'm just going to say I'm funny. I'm being real fucking funny here with the Pope. The Pope's supposed to be like the missing man. The mother and child are in the portrait, in the TV. And there's the man outside of creation that's supposed to be like the Christ that is looking into creation going, wow, that sure is an abomination there. This fatherless creation that you have made of mother and wicked motherfucking child. And yeah, you notice how that weird thing's going on? How the child is drawn like an adult? It's fucking eerie.
This is why the world feels the way it does. It feels like a single parent creation. A world built without the 0 point perspective. A world where the ego thinks it is the whole self.
So then, in this big story, here's the story that you've never heard. This is the true story. Who is Jesus Christ coming to save? How does this plot work? How does this story... You've thought your entire life that Jesus Christ is going to lay waste to the devil and you're going to point at the devil. You're going to be so mad. You're going to go, I need my Epstein files. Somebody owes me something. I'm a wounded, traumatized child, and somebody's going to pay for this. The devil's going to pay, and I'm the good guy, and everything about me is so perfect, and Jesus Christ, I stand behind him, and he does my bidding, and I point at the devil and say, lay waste to the devil, Jesus Christ, you do my bidding. Guys, you were the devil. You were Yaltabaoth. You were the one that Jesus Christ was coming to save. This is the real story. It's how it really works. No human being will be able to navigate these waters because you have to go through full ego annihilation to get here.
A world where people operate from fear, identity, and inherited rules because they don't know the higher vantage point. The missing father is not a person. It is the missing awareness of the deeper self.
Hey guys, there wasn't a devil to point at. Jesus Christ was literally coming to save you. You were the devil. You thought that the devil was a figure like outside. You thought that it was something that you're a perfect person that lives in a perfect world, and then there's the evil devil around the corner. And I'm just going to reiterate it again, that you thought, I'm a perfect person, and Jesus Christ, he loves me, and he does my bidding. And then I point at the demiurge, the wicked devil, and then Jesus Christ, look how what your ego did with this story. Because you were the devil, and Jesus Christ was coming to save you, and there was no laying waste to the devil, because you were the devil that Jesus Christ was coming to save. You are that wounded child that became the devil.
And the Christ is not the hero on a journey. The Christ is the remembering, the return of the perspective the child never knew. The moment the frightened ego realizes it is not the source. The moment the world begins to wake up from the story it inherited. And this is why the mother and child artwork hits so deeply. It is not just Mary and Jesus. It is Sophia and her son. It is the ancient story of a creation born without its source. It is the psychological blueprint of the human condition. It is the reminder that the thing humanity feared the most, the shadow, the devil, the demiurge, was never the enemy. It was the frightened child who didn't know his father. And the Christ was never here to punish him. The Christ was here to redeem him.
Doesn't that sound like some Christ right there? I don't like the story of Christ. I point at Christ and he does my bidding. And Christ lays waste to my enemies. And do you see how that story doesn't make sense? I am a perfect person and Christ does my bidding. And he lays waste to, I point to my enemies. Sounds very feminine. Sounds very feminine. Sounds like those pillars right there. I'm a girly girl. And Christ, when I'm going to get my boyfriend Christ, and I'm going to point at my enemies. And Christ is going to lay waste to my enemies because I pointed at them. And Christ does my bidding. Wow, sounds like duality to me. When Christ isn't laying waste to anybody's enemies. He came here to redeem you, who is the devil.
Father. And the Christ was never here to punish him. The Christ was here to redeem him, to wake him, to bring him home. The artwork has been telling the story.
The Christ didn't come to lay waste to the devil. He came to save the devil.
To wake him.
This is a story you've never heard before. You have never heard that the Christ came to redeem. Who else is there to redeem, guys? Think about this for a second. Like, actually think about it. There's no one else to redeem. Your whole story of, I'm going to hide behind Christ. You really, the ego has an interesting way of splitting itself off. The devil created the devil so that it had somebody to blame. Who else would, think about this, guys. It becomes comical. It becomes like you got egg on your face. It becomes stupidly comical when the question arises, who else was Christ there to save? What was the story? Yeah, it becomes kind of obvious. Comes kind of common sense. The Christ was here to redeem the fucking devil. Because the devil is a frightened child that doesn't know what it's doing. That's the explanation of your birth.
To bring him home. The artwork has been telling this story all along. The world simply forgot how to read it. For as long as we've been alive.
So much love to everyone. Please join the channel. Please buy some of that Mystery School merch because it's fucking awesome. Please donate to the Mystery School. If I'm giving you real value, if I'm really teaching you, I'm not performing, I'm really giving you the real shit. And it's real, and it really changes your consciousness. It really changes the way you view the world. It changes the way you operate in life. Please donate to the Mystery School. Much love. I hope you have the greatest life and the greatest day.